Welcome, fellow travelers. I'm Asthea, and I'm joining Chibi and Vertek at the Golden Feather. Come on in, grab a seat, and let's share tales of adventure.
Hello, and welcome to the Golden Feather Tavern, where your hosts, Chibi and Vertek, discuss Ashes of Creation and important topics spoken about within the Ashes community. Every Friday, we invite you, the viewer, and a special guest to pull up a chair, grab a pint, and join the conversation with us. Today is the 25th of August, 2023. We're on episode 177. Let us guide you. And the traveling bard today is Asthea. How are you?
I'm doing fine, thank you. And I'm glad to be here.
We're glad to have you, And hello to everybody who just joined in there. We see a Quaternian Slurp. Hello, it's been a long time, friend. And Nerer, hello. And Chibi, how are you today?
I'm doing pretty well, feeling a little bit more on top of it than normal, but that's also because I was able to get out of work a little faster today.
Always a blessing.
Yes. And today's title is a bit of a double entendre, if you will, because we are guiding you to content creators and hot spots within the community, and Asthea here is wanting to make guides.
So, tell us about that.
Sure. Well, it comes from back in my Rift days, you could say, Rift MMO. I started making guides back then, and it was an interesting experience because once you do some guides on YouTube, all of a sudden people start messaging you. Oh, cool! I saw your videos and stuff like that, and also asking for help. And that's how I got into making guides, actually. And
nice.
I noticed that it's pretty fun, so I just kept doing that. And sadly, Rift, the MMO, you could say, died after 7 years. And now I'm looking forward to doing the same in Ashes.
Nice. And we were talking a little bit beforehand that you are kind of looking for something to play while you're waiting for Ashes. My question is, do you have access to Alpha 2?
I have access to Alpha 2 as well, yeah.
Perfect.
And I'm very much looking forward to it.
Yes, same. What one thing are you looking forward to the most?
I would say just getting to know the cleric class.
Nice.
I've always been playing cleric, and well, that's not true in WoW. I used to play WoW as well for a while in Wrath of the Lich King. There I was playing a mage, but in Rift I started playing cleric, and I just really loved the class and the design, and especially the combat skills. So I'm really looking forward to how it's going to be like in Ashes of Creation. And from what I saw in the streams, it looked pretty interesting already, so I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Sorry. In case you haven't met Nerer, by the way, he's one of our resident trolls. Oi, never change.
Alpha 3 will be much better, yeah.
Absolutely.
It's true story. You ready here first, though?
For sure.
So do you have a preferred kind of guide you like to make? Is it more like character stuff, more dungeon stuff, raid stuff, secret areas, or kind of all of the above and everything?
Mainly it was doing tutorials for dungeon runs. In Rift, it's like you could play any class could play any how do you call it, role. So you could play tank, heal, damage dealer, or support. And I did videos for all of those with my cleric for dungeon runs mainly, but I also did raids. But the most fun were dungeon runs and especially PvP, because I was originally a PvP player. So depending on how it's going to be in Ashes of Creation, because so far I don't really know how it's going to be like with PvP in this game. But if it's as much fun as I hope it will be, then I'll be making a lot of PvP videos as well as PvP tactic videos and strategies. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I might need that because I'm very bad, especially if you're playing cleric. I'm gonna need help. I'm very bad at PvP. So if I can find somebody else who's like, hey, this is how you PvP as a cleric, I'd be like, but let me watch this. Maybe I'll get a little bit better.
There you
go. I'll help out gladly.
Yay.
So yeah, Wizzy, by the way, yeah, there is definitely more than one. And I would definitely see you as the opposite yin yang to Nera. one of you is more trolly, and the other one definitely just sneaks in there with it. I'll let you two figure out who's who. But so what would you say? What's the guide type that you find the most challenging to make? Like, what's the most difficult, and why would it be the most difficult?
I would say it's making rotation guides for your class, because it's very difficult to make a guide that is not too long. So because I notice if I make the first guides I made for rotations and skill trees were like I don't know, 45 minutes long, but no one. After you've watched it, you won't be able to remember everything because it's just too much. So it's a real challenge to convey how to play the class properly in a clear and concise manner that is not, I would say, longer than maybe 10 minutes. Because otherwise you'll just lose the attention span, especially for new players. Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm trying. What I'll be trying to do is really making guides in a way that are not long. So the short format, 5 to 10 minutes, if possible. I don't know. Maybe AOC will be so complex. Will have such a complex class and skill tree system that it won't be possible. But I'll at least try to make it short and concise, in a way that also new players will be able to get a good start into the game.
I'm calling it right now because of the number of augments and classes and skills that you could choose and ways you could build everything and whatnot. There's going to be a cleric guide series. It's going to be rotation part 1. 45 minutes.
And then PvP, it's going to be how to counter, and then you have 64 classes to go through. So it's going to be interesting, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because I think it doesn't seem like they're going to be making it too complicated as far as like once you've built your class, the rotation is going to be, or not even rotation, just priorities and whatnot.
Yeah.
So far, what I've seen of the skills, it looks like it'll be fairly intuitive and well built. But just with so many variations, there's going to be so much to talk about.
Yeah, so if I compare it to Rift, it's they had a lot of abilities. You had a lot of abilities as well, but you had a lot of freedom of how to play the class. So of course there was the cookie cutter rotation and build you could have, but if you didn't play like the cookie cutter build, you were still you were still able to perform at a level where you could raid hard modes and stuff like that without a problem, or be very effective at PvP. So I'm really interested how it's going to be in AOC, especially if there's going to be stuff like maybe burst rotations, burst damage, burst healing. I'd really like to know more about that, and I hope we'll be seeing, at least get a glimpse of how it's going to be in the alpha too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
My question to you is, with the 8x8 grid that they have going, how easy or difficult do you think that would make your job with making guides? Because the secondary archetype affecting the primary archetype really changes a lot.
It's going to be very difficult, I think, because in order to make a proper guide, I'd have to know all of the archetypes for the cleric class. So I was hoping that it's not going to be too difficult to change the archetypes, but Steven said it's going to be a rather long quest if you want to change your archetypes. So yeah, we'll see. If it's going to be too much effort, then I'll just stick to healing probably. And then I'll just go from there. Maybe at some point I'll make a second character and maybe choose more like a tank or something. I don't know. We'll see. I'm still hoping that they'll decide to make the switch between archetypes a bit easier. That's one of my big fears, that they are going to make it too difficult.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Now, the one thing I'm curious about that hasn't gotten like a lot of expansion on it is you had mentioned being able to switch secondaries. There was mention that you'd be able to go back to a town or like a village node and speak to somebody to change. You wouldn't be able to do it on the fly. And I wonder if that quest thing is still holding on with that, or if it's a quest to unlock the capability to switch your secondary, and maybe you have to do a quest for every secondary you want to switch to, and complete a, I don't know, like an unlocking of power to get a secondary unlocked to be able to switch to it. Maybe that would actually be really cool.
So basically, like in Final Fantasy, if you want to switch unlock a new class, basically you'd also have to do a quest for it. That would be cool. If I only had to do the quest once, and then I would be able to switch the class back and the archetype back and forth. That would be okay.
Yeah,
that would be. That would probably be a good idea.
Yeah, I'd enjoy that. And real quick, just to catch up on some chat here. First off, Wizzy, I do think Nair might be one of those types of trolls that would let you get by with padding for the troll toll. Give him a little head pat. I think mainly because it would give him a chance to casually get closer to pickpocket you, but that's up for debate, I suppose. But also, Quaternian Slurp said something that I thought was neat, and I'd like to see what you think about it. So, Slurp says, it's always super interesting to see what people come up with in terms of rotations. Ultimately, it's reverse engineering what's done on the design side, and that is always fascinating to watch. And I'd imagine it would be almost like movie night for them. Like, hey, somebody else made a new guide, and they just pop the video on and sit there with like some popcorn and just munch it and go, oh, okay, yeah, okay, they got that. Oh, they fell into the trap. It looks like it should be used for this, but actually it's much better for that. Oh, let's see if they figure it out later. So what do you feel about that? Like how fun do you think it would be to actually have a dialogue with, say, someone who had developed that stuff, but just kind of say, hey, here's what I came up with. What's that compared to your notes on the design side?
And that would be super interesting. I'd be very interested to see, because I mean, everyone has their ideas with rotations and stuff, but to actually have the developer tell you about his viewpoint, that would be really interesting, and how he goes about designing those skills. Back in Rift, I know. I knew some developers, or at least not personally, but I met them at Gamescom as well. But there was more of a talk about how the skills and stuff are designed, so it was pretty interesting, but you still didn't get an in-depth view of it. It would be really interesting to get an in-depth view of how they go about designing the skills and what they, especially how they interact with each other, because that's what I noticed in the this is the one thing that I really in the last stream that kind of bugged me was, I know the skills are all alpha and they're still being worked on, but some of the skills don't seem to fit together very well. But I'm guessing it's just because it's the first, basically the first iteration, or more or less the first iteration of the skills. So I'm guessing that's why it still doesn't look like they would fit. Some of them wouldn't fit together. So I'm very keen on seeing how that will develop.
Yeah.
And what I do have to say is, I mean, Stephen and his team, they are really focused on feedback and working together with the community. So I do have a lot of faith in them that the end product will be very good.
Oh yeah,
I'm excited.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There's going to be little things here and there that not everyone's going to like, but in the overall, I think it's going to be a great product.
Right. So, speaking on archetypes, one of the people on Reddit, their name is Saucy-san? I'm not sure how to say it. But they made a poll on archetypes and which one do you plan to play, and here is the link to that for those of you that are watching. And they said, hello, I created this little poll to get some stats on archetype interest. You can edit your answer at any time in the future if something like an archetype stream preview changes your mind, which we have all experienced at least one time in this chat. And so there's a list to that. The results are available for everyone at the end of the poll, or as long as the Google Sheet with more details, or as a Google Sheet with more details, which they include. And then so thank you for participating. And then the last screenshot they took was at 1800 UTC today, and I'm looking at it, and 5 more people have responded since then. But it looks like one of the higher ones is Tank Cleric, Ranger Rogue, Summoner, and Cleric. So those are some of the higher ones, and then Cleric Bard, of course. So, what are your thoughts?
I was surprised at the cleric being so high, to be honest. I did not think that so many people would
be interested.
Choose that. Would be interested in that archetype. I mean, okay, I think it's 270 people voted on the poll, I think, so far, something like that. So cleric really, because usually people would not choose, as far as I know, people would choose more something along the lines of damage dealing.
Okay, that might be where you and I differ a little bit, because I do lean towards cleric bard.
Oh, okay, I see. Yeah, okay. I mean, I only go from Rift experience mainly, and I know that a lot of people didn't like healing and stuff like that.
To be fair, I'm paired with this guy over here all the time, and he usually goes tank, so he does all the damage and all the other stuff while I do all the healing and a little bit of damage. So, to be fair, we complement each other pretty well in that case, particularly.
So what I'm least surprised by is Summoner, and of course Rogue and Ranger, because everyone likes that class in any game.
Yeah, I was actually surprised, actually really surprised that there weren't more tank something combos that people were into. Yeah. It was just mainly tank and tank cleric. That was pretty much it.
Yeah.
It's
That's
interesting because the highest primary archetype is cleric, followed by
Yeah.
summoner and fighter. Summoner and fighter are kind of tied with rogue. So summoner, fighter, and rogue are all tied for like second, essentially. So this looks like we'd have a lot of healing people with very little tanks. So the tanks are going to be like the token tank instead of the token healer, essentially, is what it sounds like.
Yeah, and I think honestly a lot of that's going to come from the statements of the, the most viable tank is just going to be tank, and nobody else is going to be as viable a tank as them. They're going to be the strongest guaranteed.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people might just be afraid to try anything else.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I know I put maybe my thing didn't get marked in there, or no, it just didn't have enough, I guess, to qualify a piece of the pie. But I know I put tank mage because I'm really curious about trying a tank mage, tank bard as well.
Tank. I see. Yeah. Have you played tank mage or tank bard in another MMO?
No,
Before?
the closest I've done is the engineer in Wildstar. It was like a ranged tank.
yeah.
They had a big
Okay.
shotgun and like a phase weapon, little phase blaster, and that was really fun. I had a blast doing the ranged tank thing. It's kind of why I'm really interested in checking out tank mage and tank ranger, even just to see if there's ranged options for mage.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, I know tank mage and in Rift Bay had those classes and it was pretty interesting. So I'm also interested. It will be interesting what they make of it.
Yeah. I'm curious to see how everything affects everything. Like, for example, one of the people says cleric mage, and to me, like, I don't know, it just seems cool. I can't wait to see how it gets integrated. But my whole goal for Alpha 2 and the betas is test all cleric X. So
Yep.
cleric / whatever.
Yeah.
And kind of get a feel for the differences between them and see which ones I kind of prefer between them, things like that. I was considering doing like a general guide, like this is the difference between this primary with this secondary and this primary with this secondary, like cleric, and then list the different secondaries.
Oh, that's a great idea.
But it's one of those, I don't know how much is going to change over time until it gets to the official dates. And by then, if, like you say, if it's a really long process to get your secondary changed, I don't know if I really want to go through all of that just for a video.
Yeah.
But, I think maybe during betas, if we get enough of this is the general vibe that these will be having, the details between them will be different as we go, then I'll be like, okay, now this is a good time for me to be able to go ahead and be like, okay, so this is that, this is how this feels to me, this is how that feels to me. And just kind of have a general guide ahead of time on which secondary somebody might be more interested in. Because if it is an arduous thing, you don't want to choose the wrong secondary and then go through a very long quest just to get the right secondary.
Yeah. No,
For sure.
That's it's going to be so interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that the difference in viability between going double of the same archetype versus primary and secondary differential, I hope it's only a little bit of a difference in power and viability. Like, I could be okay if it's like just a little bit, quote unquote, better. But we'll see.
That's an interesting thought. Yeah, if you go cleric or mage, that you'd get some, I don't know, extra power boost basically for that class, because you spect double cleric or double mage for double damage or whatever. Okay, not double damage me, but more damage.
Right.
That would be interesting. That would be very interesting, because it would be then you'd have like those would be proper counter classes then.
Yeah, because honestly, if it's like a 5% difference in power or effectiveness or whatever the gauge is for that class, I think that's enough to make min-maxers happy, while nobody else would even notice the difference.
Yeah.
That's
Like
true.
in real
Yeah.
play, they wouldn't even notice, but min-maxers would they would give the world for a 5% boost in power, and they would take it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Because they know how to enhance it properly.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? That also leads back to even touching back on the responses Quaternion Slurp there had.
Yeah.
Which was in terms of explaining the dev side of the specifics of making abilities in a class kit, there's a bit of a catch-22. The many developers really like to let the player discover that stuff. And actually, let me get that up on the screen too. And that's the part that I think it would be the most interesting for them, because I've always been curious how often they are surprised by combinations and like rotations and priorities people come up with. And how many times it gets changed by just the rest of the game environment occurring.
I mean, I can say if nothing else, as a dungeon master for D&D, and I've already planned out a lot of stuff for like sneaky little puzzles, my favorite is watching you guys figure it out and see how you guys handle the situation. So I'm sure it's going to be kind of like the, ooh, are they going to pick the thing that I think is good? Or, oh, hey, I didn't even think about that, and I'm the one that's been developing this. Like, it's kind of neat, because I get those experiences as a DM for sure. And Nara says, I hope they don't go more power, more that they can alter blink with elemental damage or something for like mage. Like blink away and leave an explosion behind.
I mean, yeah,
but,
that is another way to go with it for sure.
Or like, we have it in the Baldur's Gate 3 game, right? The mirror images. The perhaps you blink, but you leave a mirror image, so it's hard to tell exactly which one you are.
And the mirror images, when you go mage, they each have different elements that'll explode and like retaliate when somebody actually attacks you. They smash the mirror, but you know, it retaliates with lightning damage, and then next to fire damage. That'd be pretty cool.
There's lots of things that they can do. I'm very excited to see what they do in general.
For sure.
Yeah.
It'll be very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna say, speaking of archetypes and such, for our more sneaky things, and Vertec mentioned about pickpocketing earlier. So there's not going to be theft in terms of stealing from other players, but there may be a quest related actions that involve some form of stealing, but not of actual items from players' inventories, where the player is identified as the quest target via a title or something, and other means. And the reason why I'm talking about this is because on the forums from, who is it? Hutchie was talking about pickpocketing in Ashes and how cool it might be. And the specific thing is, I was thinking that now that we know about the resource bags and that there is both a rogue and a flagging system in the game, would pickpocketing work in Ashes? The way I would imagine it to work would be the rogue goes up to a player and hits pickpocket, and then it opens their resource bag and shows the rogue what's in it. If the player they're searching is in combat or the corruption flag, they can attempt to pickpocket, which would steal from an item randomly. I've only thought about this as a PvP mechanic, and I've put zero thought into how this works in PvE, if at all. Yeah, that's true. You could just kill them and take their loot.
I think we call that a stab pocket.
Yeah, a stab pocket instead of a pickpocket. But yeah, I just enjoy this because you always see people with old World of Warcraft. You learn how to play rogue and you have to sap Ganon and then pickpocket him, and then it just turned into Ganon becomes this just boss that randomly the entire faction is just trying to take down. And you just see a string of bodies as Ganon just takes over them. Or Gammon. But what are your thoughts on this, the pickpocketing idea?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I think it would be okay to pickpocket if it's like coins or maybe small items like a key or something. Like maybe you could have, I don't know if that's their plan, but raid keys or something, and you would have a chance like of 0.1% or something that it could get pickpocketed. But if it's like larger stuff like equipment, I don't know, because if I compare it to real life, if I had equipment in my bag and there's no way someone can pickpocket that, I would notice it right away.
Right.
So the chance of someone pickpocketing that is like 0%, except if I leave my bag somewhere and someone just steals it. But that's not pickpocketing.
That's technically a sleight of hand.
Yeah. But like for coins, yeah, sure. I wouldn't really mind if they take like a few coins, but it shouldn't be too much. But on the other hand, there should be like something maybe like, you have a 10 or 20%, depending on the mastery of the skill, a chance of getting caught. Something like that.
Yeah. And Vertec?
Yeah, I think it's kind of a complicated setup, because it would be, from a pickpocket and PvP standpoint, it would be a kind of cool little system to have in there. I do know that the way this person's mentioning, it would be somebody who's combat or corruption flagged. The person they're searching, then they'd be able to steal from them or pickpocket them. But I think the only time that they would have a chance to do that is literally on a PvP battlefield. Because anywhere else, if they're combat flagged and someone starts creeping up next to them, they're going to be kind of suspicious and maybe even slap you. Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe
pickpocketing gives you corruption.
Yeah. And that's kind of where I was going to go with it too. But is if the player doing the pickpocketing is corrupted or combat flagged and they're trying to pickpocket somebody, I think that would make it fair game to where the person getting pickpocketed could turn around and try to fight them if they wanted to.
Yeah.
But I also definitely see the desire to keep it restricted to NPCs. But if pickpocketing makes it in the game at some point, and they wanted to add a pickpocket players as like a skill / something, they could always add like an extra bag on every player out there that's like the pickpocket bag, and it has things like lint and old keys and like rocks you found on the ground that look pretty cool, and maybe there's a gem in it, or it's something like random little stuff that someone could find in a random spare pocket that the player didn't actually try to actively hold on to. Yeah, like little tiny rings, it would be like a gold or two or something.
Yeah.
But then if you add the flagging in there, then they could also get flagged by trying to steal potentially useless stuff, but potentially useful and pricey stuff, but the player's not going to lose anything either way.
Yeah. So coming specifically from Steven, and I'm not sure what year this is, so this is always subject to change, but I just feel like I have to put this out there because it's a little bit out of context in terms of whatever video or thing it came from. So the first one is there's not a theft mechanic for you to walk up to a player that's alive and steal something. This is also in addition to players are not able to be robbed while occupying their player stall inside of the limits of a node. Specifically interesting, inside the limits of a node. I'm curious to see if outside the limits of the node changes anything in specific reference to the player stall, but it sounds like otherwise pickpocketing a player is not intended. Second, Steven says, the kind of emergent gameplay is obviously the objective behind how can we accommodate a non-static quest line. And the way that you can do that is apply a flag to a title, and whoever holds that title becomes the target of the quest segment. And this can change too, because the title can change. You have different people who might rise up in the ranks of different societies and organizations. And that's just a little excerpt that is for the specific reference of there may be quest related actions that involve some form of stealing, but who from, not entirely sure. Although it'd be kind of funny if it was like a random thing that you had to pickpocket the mayor or something of a node. But
that would be interesting.
it wouldn't actually take anything from them. It would just be like a quest activity or something like that.
I mean, how fun would that be, though? If there was some kind of a quest that required you to forge documents from another node, like when you're at war with or trying to declare war with, and part of the requirement was to like pickpocket something from like the mayor or like some
would be interesting
ranked official in the other node, and it was like a bonus. You could get like a bonus, like extra deficit for the node you're trying to siege if you're able to pickpocket like the mayor's seal and forge a document and like send troops to a different area of the node ZOI.
Yeah.
Oh, that might actually be pretty fun.
Chiori says pickpocketing should only be done on an NPC. And then Asthea said, yeah, that would be the best compromise, which is, it does sound like that's Intrepid's intent with Ashes of Creation's pickpocketing theft system. Sir Onsington says, cannot steal from players that's quote unquote not alive. I can RP that after the fact.
I mean, the problem I see with I've seen in the community there's lots of like I don't want to call it smaller mechanics, but for the lack of a better word, let's just call it smaller mechanics like pickpocketing, which is actually quite complex if you go deeper into it, because how do you make the penalty, and can guards arrest you if you have a certain amount of if you get flagged often enough and stuff like that. And I think for mechanics like these, if at some point these things the community really wants those things and the dev team decides to implement it, they should definitely do it after release of the game, because I think otherwise it's just going to get way too complex right from the get-go, and also too much work for the devs to implement all of this before release. Otherwise we really have to wait until like 2030 before release. So
yeah,
feature creep is real. Yeah, definitely, let's try to avoid that. But
yeah,
I think it'd be neat if they did it in a fun way that wouldn't really hurt players that don't want to participate in that.
Yeah,
that would be cool.
Yeah. Welcome in Pokemon Fire. That is a little hard to sum up in one sentence because the game's not even out, so there's not really what is this game about, but it is in general an MMORPG that's high fantasy, and it focuses on PvX with open world PvP and also open world dungeons for the most part. And there's a whole wiki that I invite you to check out at your leisure. But you are welcome to interact with us and ask us questions pertaining to our conversations, and we will do our best to answer. And any other questions we can kind of address toward the end of the segments.
Yeah, we can say at least, Xbox not in the foreplanned future, but who knows what the long-term future will hold.
Yeah,
Never know.
We're not the devs, so we don't know. Yeah. But the next thing that I wanted to talk about is actually one of our own. Tavern made a conversation topic on the forums about ground-targeted AoEs are not skill shots. And I like to pull people who are a part of our community, especially when they're chatting in the our chat a lot, and just kind of see what they're talking about whenever I recognize it. So Solverin says you don't shoot Divine Flare, you place it on the ground. Skill shots require that you shoot them. What are your thoughts on this in general? Things like the big giant ground templated AoEs.
I really like them. If they have a specific purpose. So for example, let's say they give you a buff or something like that, then I think it's useful. And if you have more than one AoE, let's say you're a supporter. For a supporter, I'd say maybe you have 3 different AoEs that can help buff your teammates. In that case, I would find AoEs useful. AoE healing spells, in my opinion, are a must anyway, but ground targeted AoE healing spells, if they do that, then it should be like, what game was it? Final Fantasy? I don't know if it was Final Fantasy, but one game has this where you have a very tiny circle, AoE, ground targeted AoE area. Not like those mega big ones where like 30 people fit in, but it's just like a very small one. And you can, for example, heal the tank with it. So you put it on the ground and the tank can just run into it and out again. And the AoE only lasts for maybe 5 seconds or something like that. So it has to be something that is dynamic. It shouldn't be a ground targeted AoE, in my opinion. Shouldn't be something that like you just channel cast or something for 10 or 20 seconds on the ground or indefinitely. It should be something that you have to really think about how to utilize it.
So then would you say that ground targeted, in your opinion, ground targeted AoEs are a skill shot or are not a skill shot? And
I would say, yeah.
Go ahead.
I would say if implemented correctly, I'd say it is a skill shot.
Okay.
For sure.
Yeah. See, and that's kind of the direction I was going to go with it too. Is it really depends. It's very much it depends, and I don't know exactly where that line is.
Right.
Because skill shot, typically the term is used for things where you can't, you don't target anything. You have to plan where somebody's going to be, how they're going to behave, aim something and smack them, and it's a high risk of missing. Is usually where the mental line is kind of defining it. Is that there's got to be a high chance you're going to miss, or else it's just because like let's say for instance like a ground targeted AoE. Let's say you're a paladin, right? And you drop a consecrate while you're tanking something. Is that a skill shot? No, not at all. You're right there, and you drop it on the ground, and it's an AoE. It hits everything around you. There is 0 skill required except for knowing how to punch something. But if you take the same size AoE and you turn it into, say, something like a speed boost, and it lasts on the ground for exactly 2 seconds, and you got to get an entire group to the other side of the platform, and they're all spread out, and you got to get everyone to funnel down, and you have to drop it at the right time to get everybody across, or they're going to perish because half the platform is going to drop down. Yeah, I would say that becomes a skill shot because you got to aim it to catch everybody who's maybe not exactly cooperating. You got to catch as many people as possible in it, and it's unpredictable because who knows what part of the platform they're all going to be on and where they're going to bunch up at.
That's a good point.
What I found really interesting, I played an MMO not too long, I think a year ago or something, or 2 years ago. It was an Asian MMO, so I don't know the name sadly anymore, but they had these, that was the game that had these smaller AoE, ground targeted AoE circles, and for example in healing, you could stack AoEs up to 3 times. So when you do PvP, they wouldn't last long, and you could instantly switch where the AoE would go. So in PvP, because it was a very high speed PvP, PvP was very fast paced that way. PvP was very fast paced, and you really had to switch it all the time, and you really had to predict where your teammates are going to be fighting, like 2 seconds from now, and you always had to readjust the AoEs, but you could also stack them up to 3 times. So you maybe one AoE would tick for 50 health, and if you stack it 3 times, it would be 3 times 50, so 150 health. Something like that. I think that makes it pretty dynamic. And it's one way of making it very dynamic. Let's put it that way, maybe. Yeah. So in that scenario, I would call it a skill shot. In a typical WoW scenario, I wouldn't call it a skill shot, to be honest.
Yeah. So what the community is saying in the chat here, Sarandina says AoE farming on the mage in WoW Classic took a bit of skill. You screwed up that rotation, you'd have a bunch of mobs on you real quick. And that kind of goes along with what Dolium says on the forum response, saying an example of an AoE skill set in its most basic form is like the timing and placement of a blizzard as a mage immediately against a rogue that just vanished in WoW. Because you have to try to figure out and like predict where that rogue just went and immediately blizzard them so that, you know, you can try to survive that encounter. Quaternion says, to me, a skill shot is a category of ability and requires aiming and timing. The amount of skill is variable based on the design of the skill. And I could see that, absolutely. Wizzy says, WoW mage farming, where I learned my love and deep-seated need to limit test. And then Surrounding just says, I thought I'd never get Zul'Farrak down until I did, and it felt like such an achievement. Wizzy says, the best part of gaming for me is seeing exactly how far I can take it and come out alive. And it's just one of those things where, in general, with AoE things, yes, you have to have a little bit of pre-planning with AoE effects, and some AoE effects happen where you can just kind of put it down and people can get in it if they need it, like with healing. Or you saw with the cleric video where if the wrong person got in it first, that person stole the heals from the other person. Right?
That's interesting mechanic, yeah. That's very interesting.
I feel like that adds some skill to it as well, because you're going to try to get your tank, whoever needs it, in the middle of that, so they're benefiting from it. But if there's other people, you have to be kind of like strategic about that. Unless you really don't care and you're just trying to heal a group of people, that it doesn't matter who's in there, they're going to share the health pool, essentially.
So in a situation like that, a tank that's really hurt and also sees a kind of hurt fighter running towards the same AoE heal, they would get a credit for a skill run by getting there first, right?
Yeah. But I'm not really gonna divulge too much deeper into this just because the topic gets a little off topic. But the next thing is freeholds and animal husbandry from Damoon, also off of the forums. By the way, a lot of this is off of the forums. I tried from both. There's not a whole lot to pull from, just FYI. I think a lot of people are anticipating the nodes, and so it's kind of silent out there in terms of interesting topics. So it's a little bit slim pickings. I apologize. So Damoon says, if animals on freeholds are able to be stolen or sold at the destruction or foreclosure of a freehold, does that include animal husbandry animals? A better explanation of what I mean is if you're doing a breeding project on your freehold and your node gets destroyed and your animals get taken, do you just lose all your breeding process? Do you have to restart your process all over again? Can someone claim all your work as their own because it was stolen? Nodes win, nodes now. I like it. So that's a good question. I never thought about this, actually. What happens to your animals as a animal husbandry professionist when your freehold gets taken over or your node gets destroyed? It's a good question.
Yeah, I would agree, honestly. And this is kind of weird saying this. I'm just gonna say I kind of agree with George Black. That beast of burden, mounts, and etc., the ones that you have heard associated with the animal husbandry system should be, in theory, considered crafts, like crafted things, like items, rather than like
creatures,
livestock and stuff. Yeah,
it's a thing. It's not a living thing. It's just a thing.
Now the question is, if you actually catch one out in the wild and it's considered a mount at this point because you've tamed it or whatever and brought it back for the animal husbandry system, would that be considered a gatherable, Would it be considered a processed gatherable because you tamed it? Or would it fall under item as well?
This is
That's really interesting, yeah.
this has been an interesting take. I didn't actually foresee us having. What is this question? What is this topic?
What's this? Yeah, what even is happening here? I don't know. I'm just going with it.
Strictly speaking, I would be for if someone destroys it or steals it, then you lose it. But I don't think that would be a practical thing to do, because I don't think many people would like that profession then. I'd also have to say it's probably gonna be better if you do not lose your what would you call that, your items, in case the note gets destroyed.
Yeah, I'd actually be really curious to see what an answer to that would be on one of the Q&A sessions.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of those. I'll keep an eye on the. Speaking of, by the way, Q&A. You have until the 28th to grab your questions and submit them to Intrepid. Here's the official forum for that, so you can submit your questions. But I was going to say I'll kind of keep an eye on that and see if there ends up being an answer for that, because that's an interesting question that I never thought of. So, yeah.
That would be very interesting to know.
So
Indeed.
The next two topics that I have are kind of race-based. And the first one is, are cosmetics cross-race? So somebody really likes the most recent pack, and this comes from Slick Dev, but they want to play as a human and not a dwarf. So people were asking, can I use this on my dwarf? Can I use this on my pirate, etc.? And Talents actually ended up responding and saying any race can use any cosmetic. Usually the race wearing the cosmetic in the concept art is just the race that the cosmetic is made for in the lore. But I don't know, it kind of gives me visions back to World of Warcraft, where certain races just looked really funny in other outfits. It just felt like it didn't belong, but it was also just comedically amusing to see.
Yeah, and real quick, just to let you folks know, here in about 25 seconds an edit is going to be starting. Sorry about that. It is about that time that we got to let it roll through.
Yeah.
We'll see you on the other side.
Are there any cosmetics that you've seen that you hope to be able to use on your character?
So far?
I'm assuming you mean any that are designed for one race and can be worn on a different one?
Yeah, just in general. I'm trying to tie it into some sort of conversation.
So if I'd go by the packs they've released so far, I don't know. So far the packs haven't really, cosmetic wise, I think there were only one or two where I'd say, okay, I definitely need those. But I would like
tons of princess costumes.
tons of, yeah.
There you go.
I would say every race should be able to wear everything. That would be the best. It would be, and it's too restricting otherwise. And I haven't seen so far. I haven't seen a game where cosmetics are not the end game, the true end game. So I think it would be a wise decision, in my opinion, that they would let every race be able to wear any cosmetics.
Yeah.
And it's fun.
Yeah. I wonder how it would work. Okay, so here's my other question. I forgot if there was an answer for this. And Vertec, you can answer the first question before answering this one. But I wonder if it looks weird or stretched or just different for different races. Because if it's built for a dwarf, does that just does it become a crop top for another race, or is it a normal top for other people but kind of stretch?
Yeah, I see.
But Vertec, what do you... I'm just asking.
It's a fair question, though. It's a really good question.
I'm just, for some reason, I'm just imagining now a little Nikuan, like, reed and palm leaf, like, chilling by the beach outfit for a fisher person is going to be rocked by this giant Renkai. Like, samurai monster looking thing with a giant, like, two-handed sword. Maybe like a recreation of like the Conan the Barbarian movie cover or something.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's fantastic, and I need to see this now.
I couldn't help it. My ADHD question was like, but how does that work?
And then how about Renkai armor on a dwarf?
Right? You'd be like trying to walk around. Also, I have a friend on my wall. It's a little lizard. Suddenly, I just looked up above my monitor. I'm like, oh hi.
That Florida wildlife.
Right. So I pulled this just now from the Reddit list because it just felt on brand with tonight. So I wanted to make a call back and a thank you again to both Vladis and Stikeno for giving us the ability to play Baldur's Gate 3. And Pent3 posted this about 5 hours ago and says, if Baldur's Gate 3 has taught us anything, it's that most people play humans or elves. Ash's node aesthetics are based on the race that contributed the most, which should mean that most, if not all of the nodes would be human or elven design. Thoughts? And of course, we already have people rising up. Dwarven Kingdom Unite! So, what are your thoughts?
Now that you mention it, though, I think the only race I've ever played is elves, so I would fit right in there.
Fit right in the stereotype. Right
honestly, so do I. Vertec joined me. I think was it this last weekend that I found out you've never played an elf until you played Baldur's Gate 3, and my mind was blown. I was really confused. I was like, wait, really? How? Because I almost always go towards elves for whatever reason. I mean, it's hard to tell.
I mean, I did in World of Warcraft, but that's because there were some classes that were locked to races. So you almost had to if you wanted to play a certain class.
Yeah.
Like playing a paladin and horde was just, I mean, you really had one option. You're going to be a blood elf. That's it.
Belfie.
But that's why I don't count WoW as counting in there. But
that's fair.
Outside of that, where there was actually open choices, I don't recall ever actively choosing elf on purpose.
Okay. You never know. Vertex elf hater.
Elfist. Just an elfist.
Just an elfist.
Elves don't count.
Elfist, right? See? By way.
But yeah, the realization dawned on me while playing Baldur's Gate. Wow, this is the first time that I actually remember picking an elf on purpose.
Meanwhile, I'm gonna think outside the box. I'm gonna go half elf. I'm gonna go dwarf. I think I actually we did last year's Halloween thing, and I think that was my first time playing halfling or a dwarf. I forgot what I chose, but I think it may have been a halfling. That was my first time. So I was just like, this feels weird. I'm not used to it.
Yeah, dwarf is a big step towards outside of your comfort zone from the elven race, for sure.
But
it's all right though. I choose Tiefling. Tiefling is my default D&D class, or not class.
Did you say
race.
Tiefling?
Tiefling, yes, they're now Tieflings. But Tieflings they're my default race in D&D. So I mean they're like hellborn elves, right? They've got the ears, close enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair. I mean, to be honest, I was trying to do a whole roleplay moment with this because I had to go Tiefling for my Baldur's Gate 3 that you can like come hang out with me on Sundays. I do it there. But in order to get my branchlers to be on brand with my character, I had to go Tiefling. And I was going to make a whole roleplay moment of, oh man, this feels different. I'm not used to this race or like something like that, because the lore behind my character outside of Ashes of Creation is that she could in order to constantly remake her for whatever video game I'm playing, she has this ability to enter alternate dimensions. So yeah, it's just this whole joke of like her original lore is D&D lore. So she knows what a tiefling is.
Are you going to model your Ashes, your AOC character after that as well? Or are you going to go with something completely new?
So my character that you see on screen is my ideal kind of direction of what my Ashes of Creation character is going to look. Although I would honestly, if you're listening, Intrepid, please, I love hairstyles. Please give me so many hairstyles to choose from, because I will change my hairstyle like once a month if I can. I get stuck on hairstyle sometimes. There's just no good feeling hairstyle for what I'm looking for. But if I find a good one in game, I will absolutely go back to my VTuber artist and be like, do this hairstyle instead, please. Thank you.
But yeah, to give you more of an answer on that, like the timing was so perfect for when we went to get these characters made that one would almost think we had inside knowledge. And it worked out magically, because we were holding off for the longest time on trying to get these, because we wanted to make sure that we knew what the races were going to look like before we, spend a bunch of money to get a big piece of art made.
Yeah. I think honestly it worked out well because we had yours first, right? We got your bust version first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the timing of when the first models were put out, and like seeing the only one that was really questionable was the Vec, and the character creator video came out literally like I think 2 days before we submitted all of our like design descriptions on how we wanted the characters to look. I was actually able to grab pictures from the video and say this is basically the kind of style we're looking for, but now add in all the other design description that we gave.
Yeah, and for mine, I had mine is based off of my D&D character, so I already had remove the branchlers. It's basically my D&D character, and so I had the base of it, but I wanted to know what the Pyre were going to look like. So it was again perfect timing. So we had just gotten Vertex bust back, and we had just saved up for a full body of my own because I had a friend, Psycho. He's a part of my personal, not the psychophobic person that you guys know in the community. I have a personal friend named Psycho, spells it differently. He's into PvP. He's planning on actually trying to join us for Ashes of Creation when that becomes available. But he actually helped with funding my model, and it was perfect timing for his bust to come out with the Vec models. And then right when mine was about to be requested, that's when they gave the official concept art for Pyre. And I was like, here you go. This is it, but I want mine. So it was just, each time it was just perfect timing. I don't even know. The stars aligned, as the Vec would say.
Yeah, I also remember thinking when I first saw your VTuber avatars, there was perfect timing with the Ashes of Creation stream.
Yeah, yeah.
Topic wise.
Yeah, no, I
was. Oh, I see you had it all planned out.
Actually, I tried VTubing on my own privately a little bit, where I just got some art done of my D&D character, and I really enjoyed it. And I approached Vertec like, hey, we should try this. I think this would be really fun, and also we can really bring our like golden feather in Ashes of Creation vibe to life with the VTubers a little bit more than IRL. And I mean, can you imagine slathering this guy here with purple paint every single time we're trying to stream?
No.
Let me shave your head. Let me do your...
No, at that point, I would just tell my boss, okay, so just so you know, if I have to come into the office, I'm gonna be a little purple because I'm gonna get some dye, and I'm just gonna be purple. And that's it.
You want to see that? Oh yeah, I was supposed to cosplay Steven, or was it the sandal? One of us was supposed to be Steven, the other was supposed to be the sandal. I forgot from last year's Halloween thing.
No.
Oh yeah, and I think I needed to pie you in the face too. Oh my gosh, I forgot all about that. I guess that's how we're gonna have to do it this year.
You have to open up with it.
Yeah, exactly. But I do think I will do the return of some IRL stream with the Halloween stuff this year, because some stuff just works better with IRL than VTubing. Don't get me wrong, I like VTubing, but you know, IRL is more expressive. I can do heart hands. You don't even know I'm doing it because I don't have hand tracking. So, yeah. But sorry, weird long side tangent about us and not about you. But do you have your Ashes of Creation character planned out, or are you just kind of waiting to see when the character creator comes out to figure out what you want?
So I only have my character, and the character I haven't had is basically the same as I had in Rift. But since Steven said that their character creator will be like one of a kind, basically, because it's going to be such a super detailed thing, I'm hoping, I'm thinking that I will probably, the first day I play will probably be 8-hour or 10-hour grind of how will I make my character look, instead of okay, I'm gonna start playing now.
Yeah. Honestly, I really liked the idea, because I don't know how long you've been following Ashes. Were you around when Steven said that he was intending on making the character creator separate?
Yeah. So I've been around since the Kickstarter.
Oh, cool.
I haven't seen all the streams, but I think I've seen enough to stay more or less up to date. Let's put it that way. I mean,
yeah. At least it's interesting because, you know, we both, in terms of Vertec and I as well, have been around since the Kickstarter, and we're only just now like meeting you essentially. I find that interesting. Like, that shows how big the community is for this.
That's true. Well, to be fair, I rarely write something in the forums, or I rarely write something on Discord as well.
That's fair.
For now.
Yeah. It's kind of more like a lurk and watch situation and see how it develops and get thoughts and opinions on it.
Yeah, because everything changes so quickly.
Oh yeah.
Nowadays, so I'm waiting. So I'm basically waiting until like the basic stuff is set in stone, and then I'll. So as I'm guessing around end of the year, probably things will start to get more, let's say, crisp. Because the Alpha 2, I hope Alpha 2 will. I pray for beginning of next year, but it'll probably be summer next year or something. But yeah, and then I'll start to get more involved with everything and start making content as well.
Good.
Yeah.
I can't wait till things start spinning up more.
Yeah,
and we start seeing more and more people putting stuff out.
Welcome in, Vochi. Yeah, Vochi is a pro Tolnar, by the way, so just ignore him. He wants everybody to be Tolnar.
Oh no.
He says,
you hear that, Vochi?
He says,
goodness.
At least tell us that you want your main to be Tolnar, right? Right?
It has to be something elvenish.
I mean, who knows what the Tolnar.
Well, we'll see how the final design will be.
See, look, they're no. You don't have to fight me. I'm just saying. You're the resident Tolnar lover. Wizzy and Thogli are the resident dwarven lovers. So you guys are biased. That's okay. I'm the resident Pyre lover. Vertek is the resident Vec lover. We're all here. We have our token races that we like. But yeah, aside from that, I don't really have much else to talk about. I guess I just kind of want to bring it back to the top and ask, are you intending on making some guide videos during Alpha 2, or are you intending on doing some guide videos on other things to kind of get your practice back up?
Yeah, so for Alpha 2, I do intend on making some, at least stream. I'll probably at least stream. If I make YouTube videos, I'm not sure about that. Depends on the content we'll have there. I think of maybe a video here and there, but just like an opinion piece, basically, not some kind of guide, because I don't think what we'll see in Alpha 2 ability-wise is probably not going to be what we'll see in the beta and what we'll see in the final release.
Right.
So I don't know if it's worth it to put in all the work for that early on. But I'll give my impressions for sure, and I think I'll stream more though than make YouTube videos in the Alpha 2.
I could see you making things like the state of cleric in Alpha 2 or something like that, and just explaining how cleric works during Alpha 2 instead of a guide of it.
Yeah. That's. I think I'll go down that route.
I could see it.
Makes sense.
The second question I had is, being that you've been around for a while, did you apply to be a content creator?
No, not yet. No.
No. Do you intend to?
Maybe. So the only thing content-wise, what I did was I made a Excel, a Google Sheets for all the guilds. So an overview of all the guilds, EU guilds at least. But that was very early on. I plan to make a new one where people can more easily enter their input their guild into it, because right now it's more a manual thing. Like people would have to write me, and I would fill it out. Otherwise, anyone could just spam the Excel the Google Sheets page, and I don't want that. So we'll probably make something with Google Forms or so, like a small website or something, I guess. And content-wise for videos at the moment, not so much. When the Alpha 2 begins, for sure, and I think then I will probably apply as a content creator as well. That's
fair. Bide your time, get some experience with the game a little bit, get an idea on what kind of content you want to make. I feel that, definitely. I feel that. I think then that kind of takes us towards the end here. Vertek, did you have anything else that you wanted to share or talk about before I do a wrap up?
No new fun and crazy topics.
Okay. Well, as a little wrap up, I just kind of wanted to do a reminder of the other shows that we do here now besides just our podcast, if you guys are so inclined or interested. On Fridays, we obviously do our podcast with our lovely bard of the week, this week being Asthea. Tomorrow morning, Vertek does a coffee quest thing that sometimes turns into a mead quest because of waking up late. With Baldur's Gate 3 at the moment. And then I am actually doing a kind of role-play-ish thing of Baldur's Gate 3 with Vertek and then two of my other friends who are also VTubers. So there's 4 VTubers on the screen acting as their BG3 characters. it gets interesting and chaotic sometimes. And then on Mondays, I run D&D, the parlor game night, and I will be planning to do it most Mondays, except for the second Monday of every month will be the Monday off. Vertec may run something that Monday, but it's my day off to kind of prepare for the next 4 weeks of sessions. So, yeah. And once the BG3 stuff is done, I'm going to probably go back to some of the Harry Potter or the chill things because it's supposed to be cozy Sundays with me. So, yeah. Sarah Zington says, one last subject before we end stream. How game has progressed from 2021 up to this point?
Ooh.
In terms of like art style or...
That's a big one.
Yeah.
And I'll be one to admit, I'm terrible with time and marking when things happened.
No.
When
you're just trying to keep
where.
us later in error.
Yeah, in full details, all aspects. Yeah,
Oh, you were
exactly. It's like the
trolling.
never-ending
Okay.
topic. Well, see that, and
Gotcha.
I'm so bad when it comes to nailing down a specific time when something happened. So I couldn't even tell.
Yeah.
I couldn't even tell you exactly when the UE5 update happened with Ashes.
I'll just say it's looking good. I'm excited to see where it goes from now. from here, I mean. Not for now.
Yeah,
But,
the big thing is UE5. I think that was the very big thing that they did.
Yeah.
Unreal
Yeah,
Engine 5
yeah.
was a very, very important step.
I know, I think was it Bochi that shared the water video like last week
Oh
or the
my
week
goodness.
before?
It was gorgeous.
Yeah,
Gorgeous.
so I think they're doing really good progression with the in-game engine things such as water and rocks and things like that and making it easier for artists.
Yeah, those oceans would be beautiful if they got that water in, but I have no idea what that would take, if it's a whole extra update or what.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That's fair. All right. Well, I'm dead. Help. Quaternion. Thanks for the entertainment, y'all. Much love. Looking forward to reading your guides at Asthea.
Thank you.
And I'm very as much as well, especially if it's going to be guides on how to PvP as a cleric, because if Wizzy comes at me, I need to protect myself. But Chicago. Look, at a certain point on Fridays, just wordsing and Englishing and just talking is hard.
Englishing is difficult.
Yeah, exactly. We'll just trip and fall chasing you. Oh my gosh.
Asthea, did you have anything you wish to
Oh, thank you, Corey.
Plug or
That
close out
helps
with?
me a lot.
Close with
There.
no, not really. I think we actually
covered all the stuffs?
covered all this. Yeah,
Well, hey, that
that
works.
I
That
had in
works.
mind as well. So yeah.
Well, everybody,
Yeah, same.
make sure that you bookmark, follow, and sign up for notifications so that when Asthea starts going live with some stuff, you're going to be one of the first to stop in and say, hey, I've seen you before.
Absolutely.
But thank you to everybody who stopped by and hung out with us. Much appreciated. Chiori, I'm going to pronounce your name like that for now. I hope I got it right, but thank you for stopping by, and you're very welcome for the stream.
Yeah.
We love you all, and as we always say, time is non-refundable, so we're so happy you spent it with us. We do feel honored. Many things you could have been doing with your day, night, evening, and you chose to spend it here, so it's much appreciated.
Yes. I can agree with that. And we are going to read over to someone who we want to support as I quickly look for somebody to read over to.
There's a Juby again, playing some Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah, if you guys
There
want, we
is-
can raid over to Juby because we will be playing BG3 this weekend. So yeah, I can do that, no problem. Juby this time.
Juby.
Just Yeah, GB is actually in slime form right now, but he also really likes if you have a love or an interest for wrestling. I personally don't, so I try to engage, but I get lost. He loves wrestling, and so he has like a wrestle slime form, and he likes to call himself the slime boss. So I think it'd be fun to call it TGF raid on slime boss or something. Slime boss raid. Slime boss raid. We'll do a slime boss raid.
There we go. Slime boss raid. I like it.
I like it.
Yeah, Juby's someone that'll probably be joining everybody over in the Ashes world. Has an interest for it. So,
cool.
you know. Yeah, might see him over here.
The more the merrier.
Right. I'm going to put the 2 different versions of the raid for everybody. So this is for the subscribers, and then this is for the followers. And we particularly paid attention to that stuff because we don't like followers losing out on being able to be a part of stuff sometimes. So, Can you smell what Sharif is cooking?
Can you smell what Sharif is cooking?
But yes, thank you so very much. It was a pleasure chatting with you all as always. And we'll see you next week with our guest, Anduin. So. Yeah.
Grumpy. All right, everybody. Take care. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Love you all. Okay, bye.
Take care.
Have a good one, Tokli.